Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tales from the Cryptid. My name is Shad, and I will be your host. Now, here at Tales from the Cryptid, we talk about all sorts of cryptids, from the Loveland Frog to Bigfoot. But today we are going into one that is somewhere in the middle, and honestly, I'm really surprised on the research that I got from this one. We are talking about La Llorona, otherwise known as the Weeping Woman. Now, this story dates back long, long ago, almost as old as Mexico itself. This story follows a young, poor woman who came from a, as I said, less than wealthy family, but she was very attractive. The whole village sought after her because of that, her looks. So she walked around, and even though people tried, she really wasn't interested. But one day, when she was walking out late at night, there was a rich nobleman who was walking down, saw her, was shocked by her beauty, and practically demanded that they got married. He confessed his love for her, and she accepted it. And years down the line, fast forwarding a little bit, we see that they're happily married. They have a couple of kids. Can't remember exactly how many off the top of my head, but they had children. They were wonderful, and everything was happy. Or at least that's what it looked like, because there was actually something secret under all of this. The husband was cheating. She was unaware, but over time, he would start being later coming back home from work. And then he'd be later, and later, and one day, he just didn't come back home at night. And that stressed out La Llorona. So she takes her children, and they go on a walk, and that's when she catches her husband on a walk with another woman. The whole story comes out that he had been cheating on her, and she goes into a fit of insanity, if you will. She goes to the lake and drowns her children. For reasons why, there's different reasons why. Some say that so the husband and the new girl couldn't have her children, or they reminded her of her husband who cheated on her. Whatever the story is, she drowned her children. And after she does that, she regains her sanity, realizes what she's done, and freaks out even more from there. Now, that's how the story goes, and legend has it that if you go by a body of water, you sometimes will hear her crying, and if she calls out to you, it's too late. Now, of course, that's all the information and research that I could find about La Llorona, but I would say that it's not nearly as good as someone who has grown up with it, someone who has been practically spoon-fed this along with their own actual food. And that's why we have an expert from Ram TV on the subject, Dallas. She's actually from, I believe it's a Del Rio, that's a border town, and yeah, would you like to take it from there?
Thanks for having me, first of all.
Of course.
So the story I was told with La Llorona is, her name was Maria, according to legend. She's been around, the story originated from Aztecs, at least from what I've seen, but La Llorona, the story goes that she was beautiful, obviously, and then from what I heard, he slowly stopped seeing her and started focusing more on the kids. He would come back, would see the kids. She had 2 sons, and then at any body of, she drowned them, and then she drowned herself. And now at any body of water, she yells, "Ay, mis hijos," and that's just the story. It's just a story that your mom tells you whenever you're going out, and I don't go out so late, La Llorona is gonna get you,
Yeah, kind of like a spooky, boogeyman type
it's
story.
like an El Cucuy kind of situation. Yeah. So that's the story I was told, and with her story, it just resonates a lot with a lot of Mexican women, because it's that stereotype that women, whenever they age, they become less beautiful, and so it's sad, but it's a story that you grow up with and you look at and you go, huh, that's kind of weird, but
yeah. So you said it's about it's kind of a story about women losing their beauty. Was that a part of the story?
Yeah, because the main reason he started leaving her was because she started getting older. Obviously, they were growing up together. She's raising the kids, and so every time he would leave and come back, he started spending less and less time with her, and he'd only focus on the kids. And that saddened her, but you know what? The kids still have a dad, so But then, like the story goes, she sees him with a much younger, much more beautiful woman with a lot more money than her because she was from a poor family. And in that fit of rage, she drowns the children. And the story I was told, right after that, she drowns herself. She realized what she'd done, drowns herself. And because she committed the two greatest sins, because Mexicans are very religious people, she committed the two greatest sins, suicide and murder. She was forced to roam the earth and now calls out for looking for her sons. When you encounter her, she yells, if you don't run away, she'll grab you and think that you're her son, that you're her son. And so she'll be like, "Ay, mi hijo," and then when she realizes you're not her son, she tosses you back in the water and drowns you.
I don't know why, but imagining La Llorona, like, drowning me, then taking me and being like, "Oh, you're not my kid," just, like, tossing me away is a little funny. But, yeah, that sounds like a really, really interesting story. Because, like, if you look all over the world, there's different, like, stories similar to La Llorona. Not exact, not even, like, maybe even remotely similar. But they're always around, like, the same idea of, like, don't go outside. If you do, La Llorona will catch you, or
don't go after dark.
Yeah, don't go after dark, because that's when it's dangerous. And that's a really good way to, I guess, keep the children from exploring too late and too dark when you can't find them. Was there anything in particular that, like, I missed when I was talking about my story?
In the story that I heard, at least, the one that I grew up hearing, was that a big reason that they weren't supposed to be together, at least, or, like, that was supposed to tear them apart more, was that Maria was the most beautiful woman in the village, but she was very poor. And her husband was a nobleman, and so the father was like, "No, you can't marry her. Like, she's poor. What is she gonna give to us?" But love was so tranced by her beauty that he fell in love with her, and then they had kids. But as soon as as soon as they were getting older, he saw, the wrinkles and stuff, and he was like, "You're not the woman I fell in love with." And so that reveal of her seeing him with a younger noble woman with the money and someone whose father would be proud of, it just adds another layer of, ooh, that got a sting for her.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, and from, like, what you've been saying, it does really sound like this is almost like a precautionary tale for young girls too. Like, don't date a guy just because he's interested in your looks, because eventually the love will, like, disappear. And I feel like that's really interesting. It's almost like a scary story, but then it also has, like, life lessons added onto it. So that's the end of, like, our little discussion on I guess what, like, the lore of La Llorona is what we can call it as. I guess what next I want to discuss about is do you think La Llorona actually exists or not? Like, do you think she's real?
Well, growing up, we didn't personally celebrate Dia de los Muertos too much, but of course, it was still a big part of my life, especially during my childhood. Like, we would, especially in a border town, it was always during Halloween, you would always see not fireworks, but you'd see the lights in the cemetery because people would celebrate Dia de los Muertos. So, and the biggest part of Dia de los Muertos is always the spirits coming to the overworld and seeing their families and taking the offerings and all that. So I do believe in spirits, maybe not ghosts per se, but spirits for sure, and La Llorona being around as long as she does. I do think there might be a spirit that encapsulates what it is, kind of, just that what was me, the loss of a child, especially for the loss of a child is the hardest thing anyone can go through. It might be that agony of all those of mothers that have lost their children, because there is a day for it in Dia de los Muertos. It's called Dia de los Angelitos, is Day of the Children, for lost children. So maybe that's what she is, but I've never been, it's around any body of water. I've never been around a body of water and heard ois mis hijos, but I've never really been around a body of water at night. So I can't say that I've experienced anything with her. So I can't say that she's real, but I wouldn't doubt it if she's real.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't have too much of a proof whether or not La Llorona exists or not, but I do believe in ghosts a little bit. But I think the most important part is that even if we can't prove it or not, there's definitely a large community that does believe in La Llorona, and I think that's what counts. But anyways, that is all the time we have. Thank you guys for staying in tune for Tales from the Cryptid. I've been Shad. This has been Dallas. And I'd like to shout out our producer, Harry, and our director, Brian. That is all the time we have.
Woo.
See you guys next time.